A lot of my tanks I'm really proud of, but nothing compares to the one that my wife and I just built. Because up until now, every tank and every project I've done has been my tank or my project. But this time it was different. April wanted a tank that was completely out of my comfort zone. She wanted to have small schooling fish, and she even brought back my old nemesis, plants, and lots of them. But the best part about this project wasn't the fish, it wasn't the plants, it was because it wasn't my project, and it wasn't her project, it was our project. And there were a few disasters, and I'll talk about those. But along the way, this project became something more than about just fish. Here's how we did it. The Landen tank showed up in a massive crate like they always do, because it has to. It's not just an aquarium, it feels more like a piece of furniture-grade art, and you don't want that glass breaking before it even gets set up. The first thing that I thought wasn't excitement, it was my floor. Something this heavy could absolutely destroy it if I didn't get the structure just right, and I'll show you how I fixed that issue later. First, we needed a stand. Nothing fancy for this one, just a strong, simple, and fast one. It's all 2x4 construction with an extra center support since it's over 4 feet wide. I wanted to keep it simple for 2 reasons. It's going in our bedroom, and I like the open, unfinished look. It keeps everything feeling light instead of heavy and overbuilt. And honestly, the more tanks I take on, the harder it is to ever actually complete the detail finish work on anything. So between making it perfect and keeping it simple, simple wins. But we still have a lot of work to do. Here's one of the driftwood stumps we bought that's going to take the scape to the next level. Instead of painting the tank, I used black window tint film. Clean the glass and apply it. You just mix a few drops of soap into the water and spray both the aquarium glass and the film. That allows you to slide it around and get it perfect before you actually do the cutting. Put the uncut edges on the top and one side of the tank, and then cut off the other side to make it perfect. Once it's on, the key is in getting all the air bubbles out. So just use a credit card and start in the center, working outward toward the edges and pushing the air out. Then when everything is smooth and sealed, you know you're done. And that's it. Way faster than painting. And there it is. Looks super sleek and clean, doesn't it?
This is my new substrate that I'm getting ready to open. I'm super excited about it. I was researching online trying to decide what kind of substrate I was going to use because I know I want to use soil. I came across Destin's fish tanks and I was super excited that they make their own substrate. So yeah, you just give them your measurement and they help you decide how many bags to get. So like for my tank, I got 5 bags. But they create this on their own and then they sun dry it before they package it up and send it to you. And not only that, I ended up getting some of their plant juice, which is a fertilizer to help with the plants growing too, which they highly recommend you get.
There's a big problem coming up. I had them shipped, but they wound up arriving a little too close to our trip to Chicago, and we couldn't get them planted before we left. And we were gone 9 days, so they sat the entire time we were gone.
As you can see, they lost a little of their luster during our absence. A lot of their luster. In fact, this is how much luster is left when you're dead. So $100 in plants down the tube. This was an expensive mistake, and we had to order a lot more.
Subscribe, or someone dies. Ding ding.
If you're going to have a planted tank, you need to have a good plant light. We did our research, and April eventually chose this Fluval Plant 4.0 light. It comes with these sweet height adjustments to get it up off the tank surface. Look at those nails, by the way. Ladybugs and flowers. Getting this light strip up about 6 inches off the rim helps to create that shimmer that you see on the substrate and on your walls around the aquarium. We had a few temp agency workers helping out for this part. Say hi to Ruby and New Cat, who we've actually had for quite a few years now.
Now it's time to put the soil in. You want to have some sand and gravel mixed in with it, and this already comes that way. I want to make a slight slope up towards the back, shallow in the front, deeper in the rear of the tank. It doesn't look like much of a slope from the front, but it's there, and it helps you to see the back a little better. It's really important to have good soil, or your plants will wind up like they do when Dave's in charge of them.
April chose this mostly black or dark gray sand, and we're giving it a rinse. It's such a relief to find it because it's exactly what she wanted. She actually spent weeks selecting the best sand to cap off the soil, and it wasn't easy. She wanted it to be small enough that it still looks like sand, but big enough that it would still be a good cap so the soil wouldn't come leaching out into the water column. She also wanted it to be a good size for the catfish and plecos. The black sand is different from all my other tanks, and it'll make the fish colors pop. She had to borrow my really long arms to smooth it out since she had a hard time reaching the bottom. We already showed you this stump, but another one came for Alcatraz, and April told me that it was going in her tank instead, and I'm smart enough not to fight her about it. We could put it in like this, and it would be great, but April had this ingenious idea to turn it over on its side, like it was knocked over. We didn't soak it, so it's going to float unless we make sure it doesn't, and that means supergluing heavy rocks to it. But don't pay attention too much to how we're doing it, because, spoiler alert, it isn't going to work too well, and we're going to have to do the thing again. But there were some complications with the idea anyway of having this second stump in here, and we'll show you that in a little bit, but we wind up with something completely different. It looks kind of funny with just the sand, so we're adding some medium-sized rocks to it, placing them mostly somewhat close to the driftwood, just like so. And some smaller gravel to place around those medium-sized rocks, fanning it outward to make it look a little more natural. We'll be filling it up soon, but we do have some epiphytes, which are plants that don't actually go into the substrate. You attach them to rocks and driftwood. We're using some super glue along with a few sprays of accelerator to make sure it dries almost instantly. We're also making sure that they stay wet with a few sprays of water every now and then. As we're filling it up, INKBIRD sent me a couple of 406A controllers in exchange for a review. But before you think I sold out, I was using these long before INKBIRD ever sent me anything for free, and I loved them. It has dual probes in case one stops working, which is really cool. You just set your heaters a little higher than you want your water temp, and then set the controller at the temp you actually want your tank. I'm using a couple of Eheim 150 watt heaters, neither of which is powerful enough to cook my fish alone. And that's it. It's really easy, and it can save you from coming home to a tank full of crispy critters. It'll also help extend the life of your heaters. Ask me why in the comments if you don't already know. So remember earlier I said that this tank could completely destroy my floor. Well, that's because all said and done, it's going to weigh somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 pounds. And that's a lot of weight to have in just a small section of your floor if it's not on a concrete slab, which mine is not. But you should at least have your heavier tanks along an exterior wall where the supports are the strongest, which again, mine is not. To have the floor supports, the joists underneath the house running perpendicularly to the tank like this. Now mine, unfortunately, are running parallel to the tank like this. And that means there's a huge opportunity for this floor to start sagging. So I had to crawl underneath the house and make sure that it was supported properly with a permanent floor support jack on top of a concrete cinder block with a couple of 2x10s structurally screwed together, supporting that other end of the tank. That way I don't have to worry about my floor sagging, which can cause all kinds of problems in my house, let alone have the tank be uneven and cause the glass to crack and I have leaking water all over my house. So we're filling the tank up and it's getting to the point where it's just about ready to cover that stump on the right. And we think we're in the safe zone now, baby. But instead, the rocks pop off and it comes rushing to the top. So April and I are just like, crap. But as it's floating there, we're thinking, should we put it back where it was, or maybe it would be better if we didn't have that stump on the right? Even though it looks great, it is taking up a lot of space in this tank, and it might be just a better option for a larger tank, which I do have a larger tank that's going to need some stumps, by the way. So for this one, maybe it would be a better idea if we just had the one stump on the left. And you know, we are watching all kinds of MD tanks videos on gluing driftwood to rocks to keep it down, and he sometimes uses cotton balls and sometimes he doesn't. Well, I'm guessing in this instance it would have been a case where he would have used the cotton balls. That's what we wind up doing and it stays. A run of thought by April. What if we drift away from canister filters for this setup and use a couple of Tidal 75 HOBs? She agrees, and now I don't have to worry as much about leaks as I've had 2 Fluval 407s leak in the past couple months. That's nightmare material right there. These Tidals have an adjustable flow and they don't create too much current for the smaller guys that don't like it. I still some biomedia from the sump under San Quentin, and now this tank is instantly cycled. So this is it after all the changes. It's a little dusty and full of tannins, and the water overall looks like sewage water, but just ignore all that. It'll clear up. Also ignore this little guy. Pretty cute though, isn't he? It's one of the few new additions April made before the big order comes. Like I said, forget about all that for now and just focus on these beautiful plants moving in. This here is the replacement pack that we'll be working with. Much better looking than the dead ones, don't you think? All right, let's get them in. April and I are really loving this so far, and not just the scape, but the tank itself. Rimless tanks add a touch of class, and I think Landen does a fantastic job making sure all the joints where the glass meet are so clean it looks like they're just sticking together magically. Maybe they are a coven of witches using their magic to put together my beautiful tank, but even if they are witches, they were nice enough to supply it for us, but I told them my review would be an honest one. So if I found any problems, I'd pass them on to you. But I found absolutely zero. And I have 2 other Landen tanks, and they were just as beautiful and reliable. Anyway, April and I love how her vision for this tank came together. April's really good with outdoor plants, and she's done a lot of research on aquatic ones, so I do believe that these will actually thrive in here. What do you think about our first tank together? Let us know in the comments. If you think it looks good now, wait until next week, because we're going to add about $2,500 in fish to this tank. Not only that, but I have a new scarier eel, an eel longoria, arriving for Alcatraz. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss these things. All right, fish nerds, you've had your fun. Until next week, that's going to be a wrap.